It's a high chance we've probably heard this song playing before, maybe through YouTube, maybe through TikTok, or you're just a fan of the artist. That artist being Mac DeMarco. Mac DeMarco, real name Werner Winfield McGuire Smith IV, born in Edmonton, Alberta, is a singer/producer from Canada and has produced 5 full-length studio albums, his most recent being 5 Easy Hot Dogs, an instrumental album. His music has been called indie and indie rock, but he personally likes to call it just jazz. Most of his music has a warm feeling to them and gets people to groove. Before we look into Moonlight on the River, the topic of this video, I wanted to dive into a few of his projects prior to making This Old Dog, the album that Moonlight on the River was published from. Also, about his personal life, just a little. As much as you may have heard from Mac and his happy songs, they ironically often hide mature themes of aging, commitments, and morals under layers of chorus and reverb. We should talk about Mac's father. Mac DeMarco's father left him at the age of 4, prompting his mother to change his name to Magbire Samuel Lanyon DeMarco. He attended McCummon School for junior high. During this time, he started to tinker with guitar with lessons from his grandmother. During high school, he was in many bands which all never lasted. He picked up cigarettes as an early teenager and that has become a big part of his image. He always had a slacker mentality that is shown in all of his music. All of these things were what shaped Mac into becoming the artist that he is.
That's why I gotta get it on the paper, I gotta get it on the strings, and I gotta get it out to the fucking people, man. I gotta change shit, you know? That's what I'm in it for.
Prior to the name Mac DeMarco, he had done side projects which had him in the local and regional spotlight. Under the name Makeout Videotape, he released an album called Yin and Yang, which consisted of 13 very grungy songs. One being Only You, a song that you can still hear on his Spotify on the album Rock and Roll Nightclub, and an acoustic version on the album Live in Acoustics Volume 1. Still waiting for the second one, Mac. There was also so many EPs under the name Makeout Videotapes, and they're even more grungy than the previously mentioned Yin and Yang.
Welcome back. You're rocking straight through midnight with me, Dojo Daniel, on 967 Woodpecc. Up next, we got a triple shot of Mac DeMarco coming at ya, stuffing her down the chute.
One of his first projects under the name Mac DeMarco was Rock and Roll Nightclub, which in itself has a very interesting story behind it. Rock and Roll Nightclub had a more rock feel to it, get it, than his later projects. His voice also sounds different from what we hear in the later projects, a more crude voice that was slowed down. It touched on dark topics and its lyrics and about loneliness and other problems. Nonetheless, this album is one of my favorites from him. This album was a hit and was enjoyed widely through Montreal, the city that he was living in during the production of this album, with multiple of his buddies who had each a piece to play in this album. He also had songs from his prior name Makeout Videotape like the previously mentioned Only You. Overall, the album was a great start to his career. After the success of Rock and Roll Nightclub, he decided to make his second album, calling it 2. This album had multiple hits like Freaking Out the Neighborhood, which by itself has a very interesting story behind it, involving him shoving a drumstick up a specific body part live on stage, and having to come out with an apology to his mother. This album had multiple topics like about his life and cooking up something good.
Life moves just slowly. Just try and let it go.
and love songs like My Kind of Woman.
You're my kind of woman. And I'm down on my hands and knees, begging you please, baby, show me your world.
Which is still also extremely popular even 10 years later after the album's release. It also features probably my second favorite song by Mac, called Ode to Viceroy. What is Viceroy, you may be asking? Viceroy is a brand of cigarettes that were popular for the fact that they were so cheap and tasted horrendous. Cigarettes were a big part of Mac's image as a musician. A lot of the times you could see him smoking in live shows and even in songs. This song was just an ode to his favorite cigarette brand.
Early in the morning, just trying to let the sun in and open up my eyes. Viceroy.
On the topic of the album, too, it was received Best New Music Award by Pitchfork. The catchy tunes made him even more popular, especially Freaking Out the Neighborhood, which I believe everyone has heard of. But there is one song which seemed to be his most popular. Salad Days, an album regarded to be his best work and most popular work, only rivaled by his later album This Old Dog. It was produced while he was in Brooklyn, New York, and the mood for this album while he was recording it, in his own words, was, "Fuck man, I was just on tour for a year and a half and I'm tired." And it shows in his more laid-back approach, not like 2, which was more nice and catchy, but a much more chill feeling to it. This album had a great balance of lyrical songs and instrumentals. Like for example Brother, which had lyrics but by the last minute mainly became an instrumental and has Mac's voice sounding almost like he's howling. This isn't the first time he had a song where the first part was lyrical which turned into an instrumental song. Like mentioned before, one of my personal favorites, Ode to Viceroy, worked by the same formula, and both songs are some of my favorites by Mac. Now there's a big elephant in the room, which I haven't talked about. A 500 million listens elephant to be exact. Chamber of Reflections. If you've been on the internet long enough, you have definitely heard of it, and it seems to be popular for its depressing tone. He had Mac talking about feeling alone and being alone after what seems to be a breakup. The song was a special place in many people's heart as it makes them think, and many comments talking about how this song gives the perfect portrayal of being alone. For myself, and I believe many others, this was the song that introduced him to Mac. For me, it was around 2018. The last project before the release of This Old Dog was another one. A mini LP which I personally never listened to until early January, and I'm so happy to have listened to it, as it's probably one of my favorite albums. By him, almost every song sat with me, and for good personal reasons. All songs had a good groove to them with deep meanings like The Way You'd Love Her. This album had many love songs and lyrics talking about how hard it is to keep up a relationship at times. My favorite song of the album, and one of my favorite songs from Mac in general, has to be A Heart Like Hers.
Something that will never be, never be. In a heart like hers again, never believe. In a heart like hers again, never believe. In a heart like hers again, never believe.
beautiful melody with a basic yet catchy drum pattern, but what takes the show is the beautiful synths that are used. Mac has experimented with synths prior in Salad Days and decided to play with them even more, which had a great tone that he decided that he will use in his next album, This Old Dog. A Heart Like Hers has deep lyrics about how much he loved the woman and did many things for her to make her happy, but in the end she left him, making him extremely hurt, and saying that he'll never believe in a heart like hers again. This song sat with me the most, and I recommend everyone watching to listen to it. But moving on. This Old Dog, an album as popular as the previously mentioned Salad Days. This was Mac's third studio album, and it's an album that didn't follow the same formula as his prior projects. In Mac's own words, I wrote them and they sat. When that happens, you really get to know the songs. It was a different vibe. And you could definitely hear it, especially in songs like On the Level with its rich synth that's almost mesmerizing.
On the level, on the level,
And One More Love Song, also following the same formula.
turns out all you found was one more love. I had to break your heart. Set it up.
This album was recorded while he was trying to move to the big city, aka Los Angeles, and that's why he mentioned that they sat for a while, as he didn't have the time to finish it and release it. Now the most popular song on this album is For the First Time, which had an interesting sound to it, but I won't be talking about it. Instead, I'll talk about what I regard as Mac DeMarco's best song, Moonlight on the River. Before we do a dive into the instruments and how Mac made them sound like they do, let's go into the story of the song itself, as it has a depressing topic behind it. Moonlight on the River is about the bittersweet feeling of saying goodbye. The lyrics reflect accepting that loss is natural and that everyone dies in the end, while mourning the absence of the lost person, this being his dad. His dad wasn't a big fan of his music. He never went to his shows, never really cared, but Mac always wanted to make him proud, so he continued even if his dad didn't believe in him.
Come on in, have him come to the room.
No, I gotta go. I'll be back. I just got here, but I'll be back.
Okay.
He wanted to show his dad that he had the passion and skill to become someone one day, and he did. His father was diagnosed with cancer during the making of This Old Dog, and the last two songs were about him. Like the mentioned before, Moonlight on the River was a way of Mac coming to his senses about the fact that his father has cancer, and the song Watching Him Fade Away is another song about his father, giving Person more insight on how his father wasn't really around, that even if he disappeared, not much would change, yet a feeling is still left there, a feeling of hurt. And how his father is slowly leaving and Mac feels like he never got to show his full potential as a person. Mac's father died last year, and we'll never know if in the end he was really proud of him or not. Coming back to the song, let's talk about the instruments, and let's break it up into two parts, the lyrical and the instrumental. The lyrical side of the song was already touched upon a bit prior, but again, this is Mac's way of getting a grip on the fact that his father has cancer. He doesn't understand his feelings, like in the lyrics.
It's so strange deciding how to feel about it.
He continues talking about how hard it was to talk to his dad about anything, with the lyric,
Easy conversation ain't exactly where we're at.
indicating that if he wanted to talk to his dad, but they currently aren't on the best side of things. Another lyric that indicates that they never had a great relationship to begin with was,
It ain't like I ain't used to going on without you.
showing that Mac's father wasn't always around for him. Let's talk about the instrumental side of things for this song. Maybe another reason for my love to it is that it follows the same formula as the other songs that I really love from Mac, like the mentioned before Ode to Viceroy and Brother, it being a lyrical song at the start and ending in an instrumental. But it isn't the same as Ode to Viceroy's instrumental, as it seems to be more positive and give off a good energy. It is closer to Brother's instrumental style, of more depressing tone and almost frightening. The start of the song opens with an electric guitar, led with some chorus effect on him, which comes back after the first chorus. This pattern with the acoustic guitar playing chords in the back. This continues until the 4-minute and 20-second mark. Haha, very nice one, Mac. This is where the song takes for an almost dark turn. For the next 2.5 minutes, the song becomes utter chaos with interesting and spooky sounds, and on the first listen can spook a person, but starts resonating with a person after countless listens. Mac stuck to the rhythm no matter how distorted reality gets, as in the lead guitar keeps playing and the drums keep on beat. Meanwhile, it's all kinda going chaotic at the same time, but the feeling that it generates is like no other. Once again, the end part is Mac coming to his senses about his father's cancer and how it's almost eating him up, as to speak. All of these thoughts in his head about how close he is to losing his father and how his mind has descended into almost a state of madness. This song portrays a person who's going through a grief of losing a person perfectly. Realistically, there isn't much more to talk about this song, but I have this one final controversial take on this. Moonlight on the River is the perfect song to end a career. Let me elaborate. This song has everything a person needs, simple yet deep lyrics, a beautiful melody, and an end that can't be forgotten. As much as I've been talking about the song and its ending, I think it's only right that I let you enjoy the ending of the song without the disturbance from me. As many know, Heart to Heart was technically the end for Mac's music, and recently him describing on his retirement from a persona that he was. He puts it as a loud rockstar phase, and now he's coming to his senses that he can't continue this much longer, as it's becoming a health hazard. He recently quit smoking and drinking, and he's becoming a man now. I believe that Moonlight on the River was the perfect end to his persona of loud rockstar to a more laid-back man, and it shows in his next album, Here Comes the Cowboy, with a much more relaxed approach to everything. I hope you enjoyed me dissecting this song and Mac DeMarco as a person, and if you want to see more content like this, I recommend subscribing and commenting a song you would like me to review next. Not to give any spoilers, but I'm thinking about talking about a whole genre. Anyway, that's all from me. I hope to see you in the next video.
Fucking monkey!
Two monkeys in love. Two monkeys in love.